Welcome to another edition of Setting the Stage. I'm Jared Johnson, and for those unfamiliar with this feature, it's basically what I said, setting the stage, just giving the particulars, the important details about Texas Tech's upcoming football game. And it's a big one this week as the Red Raiders open up Big 12 play against the Texas Longhorns. 2:30 Central Time at home at the Jones. And the game will be televised on ESPN. So the Longhorns they actually opened as 4.5-point favorites, which was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought they'd be favored by more. It's already crept up to 6 points as the last I saw, or at least one of the lines coming out of Vegas, one of the books in Vegas. And that sounds about right, 6 to 7 points. That seems like the type of line I would expect from this game. Both teams are 2-1 coming into this matchup. It is the Big 12 opener for both teams. Texas actually played Alabama really close in Austin, lost on a last-second field goal, but it was a respectable showing, and then followed that up with a nice win against UTSA, a sizable victory just here last week. Both teams have been dealing with injuries of quarterbacks. Texas Tech is coming off a loss to NC State. This will be the third consecutive game against a ranked opponent as they beat Houston in double overtime. The Cougars were ranked 25th in the country at the time a couple of weeks ago, and they just lost 27-14 at NC State, number 16 NC State. And now they take on number 22 Texas. So really tough stretch. We knew this was going to be a tough schedule for Texas Tech. It doesn't get any easier with the beginning of Big 12 play. But I mentioned the injuries. Texas, it seems like, might be getting healthier just at the right time. Quinn Ewers actually got hurt in that Alabama game, as did Hudson Card. Card did play last week and played well against UTSA, but it looked like Quinn Ewers was going to be out for like a month, maybe even longer. But here recently, he's been practicing, and there's some talk he might even be available against Tech this week. So. And Hudson Card is expected to be available. So the Longhorns are going to have, at least an experienced quarterback back there taking snaps, and maybe both quality quarterbacks. Texas Tech is still without Tyler Shuck. I asked Coach Joey McGuire on Monday about just an updated status report on Tyler Shuck, and he said he won't be available this week and probably not next week. Really, the earliest he's expected to be back is against Oklahoma State in October. He said, but more than likely it will be West Virginia later that month after the bye week. So that would be Game 7 of the year. Considering the injury, that's still a pretty good prognosis or idea in terms of when Shuck would be back. Now, whether he'll be physically ready or not, that remains to be seen. Texas Tech is getting Weston Wright, starting offensive lineman, multi-year starter back at left guard, so that will help the offensive line, and they need help there. Before I move on to that, I want to also say there's been a couple updates with Bryce Ramirez, the linebacker who fractured his leg. He's still back in Raleigh. He's had 2 surgeries since the game, and Texas Tech said he's expected to be back home in Lubbock by the end of the week. So, of course, thoughts and prayers go out to Bryce Ramirez. That's terrible injury, and you just hate to see it. Like I said, I think in the post-game wrap, he's a guy that former walk-on, has really earned his way all the way up the ladder to where he got his first start last week, only to have that really horrible injury. So it's been as expected. Red Raider Nation has been amazing in supporting him, and it's really good to see. So, but back to the offensive line. We'll have a preview. I'll have a mailbag before the game, and then Joe will have a written preview, of course, on how to watch Texas Tech versus Texas. But just real quickly, to me, what stands out about this game is Texas Tech's offensive line versus Texas defensive line. The Longhorns played really well up front against Alabama. It figures to be one of their strengths. I asked offensive coordinator Zach Kittley about that matchup, and he said, look, they're deep at defensive tackle especially, but they have good athletes across the board, and that the offensive line, Texas Tech's offensive line, is going to have their hands full. But he did acknowledge when I asked him that getting Western Wright back is huge. And he's already been back at practice, and he's expected to be full go. So that should help the offensive line. Whether it will be enough or not, we'll see. Like I said, we're gonna have I'll have another mailbag later this week. I'll have Joe will have his preview. We'll have predictions. We'll have Big 12 picks. We'll have a lot of content leading up to kickoff, which once again is 2:30 p.m. Central Time from the Jones here in Lubbock, and the game will be televised on ESPN. But for now, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.